Can you believe it? We are on episode 4 today. Jog, how are you?
I'm great, thanks Mishant. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So our guest for today is Will Olivier. Hi Will.
Hi Jog, Mishant. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, tell us, how long have you been with STRUXIT?
So I've been with Struxit 3 years exactly actually now. So I started in 2017 as a graduate engineer. I was at a previous company for just under 6 months, which didn't work out as I planned, but fortunately I met up with Hannes again. We actually worked together at the previous company as well. That's where I know Hannes from, and yeah, I just happened to cross paths with him again, and that's where my journey with Struxxet started as a fresh out of varsity, unconsciously incompetent engineer. And it's been a great journey since then. I've learned a lot, I've made great friends, and Struxxet's really become my family over the last 3 years.
That's really good. So you'd say you have traveled from unconsciously, what did you say?
Unconsciously incompetent.
To what have you traveled to now? Where are you now?
I'm probably past consciously incompetent. I'm probably aiming to become consciously competent.
But definitely not incompetent.
I think where I'm now, probably unconsciously competent. Yeah.
Okay, that's what you meant.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast this morning, and on there's a very famous entrepreneur he's one of the dragons in South Africa, and what he said is he always aims to be a white belt, because you can never know enough. As soon as you know enough of something, you need to look at what is the next step, and then you start as a white belt again and you start to learn again, and I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah.
Well, so can you share some of your more exciting projects or your favorite projects while you were at Struxxet?
I think probably a highlight for me is, I've got two highlights, and my first highlight would probably be the Athlone Circle Mall, just because of the sheer size of the mall, and I've always been fascinated by shopping centres and intrigued how engineers build it, and so that was really my first take at a really big structure, complex, but also it was a very exciting project. And when it was finally done, we had our ups and our downs. We had this relief, it's finally done, and I had breakfast with my wife there last year, and it was just a great feeling to actually sit in the mall that you helped design, and to be part of something that big and that significant was really cool. But perhaps my most satisfying jobs were 3 shopping centres I did last year, and all 3 of them actually really went well. They were on time. The significance of the projects meant a lot, because all 3 of them were in rural communities where there weren't a spa, for example. All 3 were spa anchor tenants, and I haven't been there since, but I can just imagine the impact that it made to that community, and that's really what made it the most satisfying jobs, is just the significance and the impact that it has, instead of just the nice render that you can see afterward, or the photos.
It is interesting, because if you look at a project and you basically just have a shell of a building there, without the people, it's just a building. But then as soon as the community gets involved, it's just like this new meaning to a project.
The building comes to life.
And that's really something that I've thought about a lot the last couple of weeks, actually, is just how do we as engineers design buildings that have significance, that are monuments, that really add value to communities, instead of just building a nice building for a client to satisfy their financial needs. But how can we design stuff and implement stuff so that we actually add value to a community? I've got this sort of fun idea where if I do my next hospital, I'd like the client to pay a new student to complete their medicine degree. If we build a new school, ask the client to enroll 2 teachers to start their their teaching course.
So that's a
And
very good way to give back.
to have it more significant and more impactful than just the course of that project, but to actually have a lasting impact through the projects that we do. And that's something that I'm quite keen on exploring and implementing.
Yeah, I think if you look at the way that work has always been done and you rethink it in such a way that we are really integrated with the community and the network that we are around, the differences that we can make would be without any boundaries.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well,
Yeah.
what would you say from the work that you've done, what is the biggest lesson you have learned thus far?
I think the biggest lesson I've learned is touching on what you've sort of started with, is that you'll never know it all. And it's great to always get new inputs and get perspectives and learn from everyone you can. But I think the fact that I've made peace with I'll never know it all, and that's okay. As an engineer, you're not expected to know it all, and it's, as I've come to learn, better to know what you don't know and know who complements the stuff that you don't know. So I think that's really something that stood out for me. It's not a complicated design that I've mastered or fancy design or anything like that. I think the biggest lesson I've learned and I'd like to teach new guys is to always explore new ways, but to make peace with the fact that you'll never know it all, and that's okay. And it's okay to say you don't know and to go and find out and ask someone that does know.
Yes, there's this thought school also that goes and says that it's not about everything you know at the moment, but it's about where you can get that information from and knowing where you can get it from.
I think it's also very important to know what you don't know, because it can be dangerous if you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and I think there's this perception out there. I know with my father-in-law, for example, I'm an engineer, so I'm expected to now to change a plug, to change a light bulb, to fix the lawnmower, and
Yes.
I think it's a perception that's out there in the industry as well. Engineers are expected to just know it all, and it's not the case. Our strength is exactly in the fact that we've got a team that do know it all, but individually we don't, and to rely on each other to actually get that from each other. I think that's something, especially in Struxxet, where I think we've got such a great combination and just a mixture of technical experts, of people that have exposure to a wide variety of stuff, and people who have in-depth knowledge of a certain field, and we can just learn from each other, and the guys are open to teach and to be learned and to be taught, and that's really cool.
Something that Eckhart mentioned was, we asked him what makes a good team, and he said to work off each other's strengths. And I think if you take Struxxet as a team, just you mentioned, you might not know the specific details of this design or this problem, but your neighbor next to you will, or he might know. And in the team, we have different strengths and we work off them. So it's a collective effort,
Absolutely.
and that's what makes a good team.
Yeah. What I do want to know is, well, do you know how to change a plug?
Some plugs.
Some plugs.
not all.
Not all plugs. Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. The law.
I often choose not to know how to do something so that I don't get asked to do it.
I see. You've been married for a while, hey?
Yeah.
Okay. You've learned. Jock, you are in Will's team, hey?
Yes.
Yes, he's the team leader. What is it like to work with him in a team?
It's very easy. I think Will's very systematic and well organized, which helps a lot, especially when you're a team leader. Because I think planning is one of the most important things for me in a team. And to meet on a Monday, to get our team together, we go through what needs to be done this week, we prioritize, we set timelines. And if that goes well and it's clear to everyone in the team what needs to be done, what's important, there's no reason to struggle to know what to do. So I think that's maybe one of the most important characteristics of Will that I appreciate the most. He's very systematic, very well organized, and a good communicator.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome, Will.
What would you say is your leadership philosophy?
I think my philosophy is to I'm a firm believer you'll get the best out of people if you allow them to be themselves. So I think, yes, there's space for rules and systems and all these guidelines, but I think a great leader is someone that allows or creates that space for the team members to express themselves. And that's really what I try to do. Yes, we have a deadline, yes, we have a project and a certain number of tasks, but I often leave it up to the guys to do it on their own way, given that it's in the guidelines or requirements. But I think if you try and enforce too much as a leader, you often won't get the results that you're expecting because people are just different. So I try to create that space where this is what you have to do it the way you want to. If it's wrong, I'll help you to get it right, but still make it your own. I think it's really leading from the back, not really from the front, where this is how it's done, follow my example, instead saying here's a blank canvas, I'll help you get it right.
Follow-up question, who are the leaders that you look up to?
Hannes is definitely a leader I look up to, and it comes from the fact that most of my training, most of my time over the last 3 years I've spent with him, and he's a leader that really gives you a open platform to do whatever you want. He's often said to me, here's a new project, go. If you have questions, come and ask. It's frightening, but it's also exhilarating at the same time, because you've got the freedom to actually do it the way you think and you want, and you learn through that. And I've made a lot of mistakes through that, but I've also sort of learned when to ask and what to ask. Whereas I think if he hasn't done it that way, I would have been conformed to a certain way of doing things, which might not be naturally who I am and the way that I think about stuff. So I think Hannes is a great example of a leader and leadership traits that I want to exemplify. But I think we've got a whole lot of great leaders. Someone like Nickel is someone that's got unbelievable patience. He's got all the experience, all the know-how, and yet he's available to sit and listen to a simple question that I ask. And I think that's leadership as well. It's not always to say, do this, do that. It's sometimes to say, let me just sit down and listen and help you with your problem. So I think we've got a number of excellent leaders in our company and a bunch of guys I look up to.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like everyone is very humble in their approach. They will always allow you to ask questions. Never seems like they don't have time to answer your question. You can ask them any question at any time.
If we think about mentors outside of Struxit, if you could choose anyone in the world to mentor you, who would you guys choose? No, Will, maybe you first.
So it's actually a question I've got recently, and my answer is more to do with not necessarily the person, but just the beliefs or the philosophy that they exemplify. And I would want to be mentored by someone like Elon Musk or Nelson Mandela, people who really had a strong belief in their cause and was willing to die for it, even with great setbacks, with a lot of people saying it's impossible, it can't be done, and they just had this firm belief that I'll do whatever it takes to get this through. And I look up to people like that, people with unwavering belief in their cause, irrespective of their industry, irrespective of their background. So I look up to character in people, not people.
That is a very significant answer. Really incredible.
When you're not at Struxxet, what activities do you like to do? Keep yourself busy with?
I spend a lot of time at Struxxet. So I think the majority of my time I spend and I enjoy that. So it's not something that's bad.
Maybe I should ask, what other activities happen at Struxxet? I'm just kidding.
But I enjoy golf a lot. I enjoy any sports for that matter. But I think most of my time after studies, my free time, I either like training in some or other form. I've started running the last almost a year now, so I enjoy running. I enjoy playing golf, and I enjoy the outdoors. I love nature. So if it's fishing, if it's hiking, if it's hunting, if it's just sitting at a bonfire with friends, anything outdoors, I've got a great appreciation for nature. And so anything that's not in an office, away from a site, I enjoy as well.
I'm going to give you some words, Will, and then I want you to tell me the first thing that comes into your mind if I say that.
Okay.
Yes. First one is Revit.
Models.
Team.
Collaboration.
Struxit.
Awesome.
That's excellent. That's really
Good
good. Yeah.
No hesitation.
Yeah, no hesitation. Struxit is filled with stories. There are so many stories. When we sit outside and we have lunch together, there's always some kind of story. What's your favorite Struxit story?
My favorite Struxxet story is the Struxxet story of how a couple of friends have decided to start their own thing 5 years ago. Started this idea and would never have imagined what it would become. Were probably fed up with their previous jobs and just wanted to do something else, and unknowingly created something that has become a family to so many people and has become not only an employer but really a place where we can express ourselves, where we can have fun, where we can do ridiculous stuff, where we can build amazing stuff, be part of really innovative projects. And just the makeup of the teams are so diverse and so unique. But it's I would want to say one big happy family. And that's really the Struxxet story that I think everyone needs to hear.
Well, that's a very good answer, and I like that story as well. It's very motivational, very inspirational.
It's beautiful.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thanks, Will. Thank you for your time and sharing your ideas with us. Thanks for answering all the questions.
Thanks, John and Nishant. It was great. We should do it again.
We will. So that's it for this episode. Please go check us out on our website at www.struxit.com and also on Instagram, Struxit_projects_CE, and we're on LinkedIn as well.